I would say my journey as an Asian American actor here in New York started very lonely. Lonely because there weren't many shows that I can go out for.
It was very prescribed to me, kind of like what you can be a part of, but also is a very interesting experience being mixed, because then you find yourself not fitting into some circles, specifically too Asian or too white.
There have been artists and creators and writers fighting for the humanity of Asian characters on stage for many years, and the real work is getting those works produced.
So I was like, why do I belong on this calendar? But I was like, but it's cool. Like, I want the calendar because I think that Asian men are beautiful. And I think that there is part of the world that thinks that Asian men are not as beautiful.
And some people ask me, like, why Asian men? And I'm just like, why not Asian men?
Why not Asian men?
Yeah, why not Asian men? It's just like, how many times do Asian people get like the agency to tell their own stories? My name is Mari Uchida, and I am the photographer of the Broadway Asian Men Calendar. So this year I had 13 men be in the calendar, and so I decided to make it a 15-month calendar. Each guy to get a month, and then for 2 of the months to be quotes from the guys. Telling stories as an Asian body on stage can be something that is often riddled with hard times, but I think finding the positivity, accentuating the joy in the process is really what I wanted to do with those quotes. I decided to interview some of the guys who participated in the project to hear some of their thoughts. One of our first shoots was with Calvin Munlo from Beetlejuice, who was surprised when we asked him to be a part of the calendar. Yeah, when you first heard about the calendar, like, what did you think? And what made you want to be a part of it?
So when I first heard about the calendar, I was like, I don't know if they want me on it. You want me on it? Like, I feel like people who are supposed to be on calendars are supposed to be sexy. Like, you always think of like, it's supposed to be like sexy firemen, or like, either that or like puppies. And like, I'm not a puppy or a fireman, so I was like, why do I belong on this calendar? And then I looked in the mirror and I thought to myself, I absolutely belong on a calendar.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. But yes, I do.
What are some of the challenges you faced as an Asian person on Broadway?
The thing about being an Asian man on Broadway, if there are any issues, you start to feel like, oh, you feel alone. You know, sometimes you feel alone. And like, there's nobody, there's not as many opportunities for me. Nobody sees me as the leading man romantic type. It's always like you're the sidekick or something else like that. And at some point you have to have your own agency to say, no, I can be the central character. You know, I can be the titular character. I belong here. I have my space here.
So much has changed. Yeah. And yet, not enough. Oh my God.
The struggles we heard about were consistent with a lot of the guys, and it was especially interesting talking to Zach and John from K-pop, which recently closed after 2 weeks on Broadway.
I kind of had to figure out my own way in the industry and find the roles that I cared about and fight extra hard to get them. Most of the roles that I've done on Broadway before K-pop, all of them were originated by white people. Doing K-pop on Broadway was a completely undoing experience as well, because it was the first time I was playing an Asian person, specifically Asian, on Broadway, and actually having to come to terms a lot with kind of the actual Hapa experience and talking about that feeling of not belonging was a very kind of vulnerable and exciting thing that I've never felt before. So I think I've never felt more excited to be an Asian American actor in New York.
Having seen the evolution of K-pop and it being one of my primary experiences in the city has been really rewarding. And at the same time, I worked other jobs where I was the only Asian person in that cast. Specifically in my own experience, maybe feeling like the token Asian in the cast. Being able to connect and share life experiences with other AAP actors has been probably the most rewarding experience for me, at least. Like getting to meet Zach, and forming a friendship and building community has been the most rewarding experience of an otherwise on the outside sad, sort of like heartbreaking experience, but what came out of it and what truly is the silver lining is community and friendships, and don't cry.
Yeah, because especially right now, like with K-pop closing, like I feel like it'd be really easy to be like, there are not a lot of great things. It's hard and people won't take you seriously. And you have to like fight so hard continually over and over again. But I think the positive thing is that then when you do have success, it's that much more meaningful because you know that it's remarkable.
Some of the comments were surprising, unfortunately. As a person who studied theater for 15 years, from when I was in middle school to now, I realized how hard and how draining mentally and physically this industry can be and the job can be. I also realized how hard it can be to be an Asian performer in a very predominantly white industry. I really wanted to bring the sense of self into these shoots. I think the commonality between all these guys is that they're Asian, but they are all their own individual main character people. I took roughly about 100 to 150 photos of each guy, and then when I narrowed them down to a list of photos to pick for the calendar, I invited some friends over to help choose. The goal was to show off these guys in a way that you were drawn to their personalities, that you were curious to want to get to know more. When people came in and did their shoots, I felt a lot of excitement from the guys about the project. It makes them feel seen. I think the best feedback I got about the calendar that made me the most happy was when these guys told me that they felt that it accurately represented who they are.
Wow, this one.
All of them also emphasize that they understand how important it is for younger actors to see them try to make it and see them overcome. People like Al come to mind, who's been working on Broadway for 20 years.
I grew up as a competitive athlete, and I thought of auditions as healthy competition, and knowing that I have to be so good they can't ignore me because of my skin color, because of my eyes, and whether it be a dance call, a singer call, or reading sides, I knew I had to be that good because the role was not written for Filipino American. So I think that's how I got through it. Little Albert, or the little Alberts, the younger Asian Americans that watch our shows now, when I leave the stage door, and I'm not even, yes, we're all on principal contracts in my show, but I'm not a star of the show, but to have those family members, these little kids come up to me, whether it be Chinese, Japanese, Phil-Am, and say, I'm Filipino, I'm Asian, and they see themselves on stage. I think that makes it all worth it. I also think too, it's even though I do not come from a family of performers, I feel like it's part of their legacy that I'm in an American staple,
But it's not just Al. These guys pursued something they love and learned inspiring lessons along the way. You can check out all 13 guys' quotes in our calendar.
The interesting thing about visibility is that years from now, we will never know the seeds that were planted for younger AAPI folk. And so it is with a very heavy heart that yes, we closed the show, but that I've retained faith that our show planted seeds for future storytellers.
Don't let someone tell you what you can and cannot do. I feel like the thing that distinguishes white people versus people of color in this industry is just opportunity, just an opportunity to show that you can do something that people don't think that you can. It's about not letting someone else define what you are. No matter how hard, no matter how many times someone says you can't do it.
The best thing that you can do is tell your own story. Tell as authentically as who you are. If you don't see yourself reflected on the stage, create something, make it special, make it your own. Don't wait for somebody else to give you an opportunity. There is obstacles along the way, but I don't think of them as obstacles. I don't think that's something that keeps us down. As you learn to hurdle each one, it just makes you stronger. It makes you identify better with who you are. And the more that you know yourself in the exploration of storytelling and art and creation, the more rich your material and art is that you give to the world. Make it beautiful for us.